If businesses ran like most families' schedules in August, they'd fold in a week. Today, I'll show you how to step into the CEO seat of your homeschool so your values drive the plan, your kids share the load, and your results compound over time. So let's get into it. My name is Dr. Blake Willard, and I am the founder of the Homeschool Mastery Group. This is the Parent Educator Project where you grow yourself to grow your kids with habits, rhythms, and real results. Today, we're focusing on shifting parents' focus from being the manager of your homeschool to the CEO. I think sometimes we take for granted a couple different things. How much parents really have to manage and navigate to successfully run a home. There are a lot of people who are flying by the seat of their pants. And you know what? I understand. As a entrepreneur and small business owner, there is sometimes when you are just doing everything all the time, everywhere, and all at once, and you are just trying to get through the day. And if that doesn't resonate with parents, I don't know what does. But that is not where we want to live, and that is definitely not where we want to stay. And so if we are going to be successful as parents, as our family grows, as our skills grow, our mindset needs to grow from simply managing our children, our home, getting through the things. This idea, a manager will ask, what do we do today? All right, they're just like coming on staff, no preparation, trying to figure it out. A CEO is guiding the ship, right? They're the captain in every way you can think about it. Where are we going and what actually matters, right? That's the focus of a CEO. They are directors, not just receivers of rules and information and delegation, right? So we have to be making this shift, I think, if we want to see our homeschools start to succeed, to excel, and for our children to flourish, and for everyone within our home to be able to fully understand and embrace their role so that everyone can thrive. And that's going to require, again, this shift in mindset, which is exactly what we're talking about today. So I think that the mission, values, goals framework of the Homeschool Mastery Group perfectly aligns with this mindset. Again, mission, values, goals is your mission, which is the kind of the core end goal focus of your family, who you are, your identity, your values, the sustenance that drives your day to day, clarifying what right looks like and pushing you for how to get there. And then your goals, which are the mile markers on your journey that show you you're making progress or that you have made progress, depending on whether you've passed that goal or you're still looking forward to it. So again, let's think about kind of what these things do. If we were to turn it into three levers, your mission is going to give you direction, what we're about, and then your goals are kind of like design, how we work, and then well, I gotta I gotta say that again. Your values are your design, how we work. Your goals are how we keep it going. Okay, so direction, design, discipline. We need all three of these things within our, we'll say, our company culture of the home. And then schools this year are starting out with deficiencies, with shortages, staffing gaps, logistic headaches, right? Parents can't outsource clarity though. We we need a crystal clear focus on who we are, what we're trying to do, and again, how we're going to get there. So let's not fall into the same trap of schools where they're responding to the problem rather than proactively creating solutions. So first thing I recommend as a CEO parent educator is to build your family's org chart, right? If you have not been in a company or in the business world, your organization chart is literally your flow of your chain of command. Who is in what role? Who is under what roles? Where do things go up to? If they were to go up the chain of command, the buck stops with you as the CEO, the parent educator. So let's talk about a couple different roles that you might see within your home company. You as the parent are the CEO, right? And either you or your spouse might be the COO, the chief operating officer, right? So sometimes we have this idea that one parent is pretty much leading everything when it comes to home education. I really do not believe that should be the case. If you're in a family with a two-parent household, then both parents need to play an active role in sustaining and guiding and directing where your homeschool's going. Obviously, if one person is taking the lead, that person's gonna own the CEO role. But as far as operations go, planning things, logistics, making sure that you have what you need, that should definitely be something that we can partner with our partner to enable our homeschool to run well, even when we're not focusing on each individual logistical task that needs to get done. Right? Equipping your spouse to know that these are the things you can do to serve us so that we can thrive. Sometimes, a lot of time, husbands, they want to help, but they don't know how to help. And I realized it would be great if they just knew. If they just knew and they would just do it. But think about it, you're the CEO. No one should know, and no one is directing the ship like you are. And so it's okay to delegate. Hey, this is where we are. These are our goals. This is where we're going. We're on the same page. And this is what we need. And then boom, and expect it to get done, right? That's the ideal kind of intermingling, working relationship that we want to have with our spouse, who is our partner in our home education with our children. And then we can have lead learners, right? Think about this as a, kind of it's not an entry level position. And this could be older siblings. Maybe you have one older child and you're giving them more responsibilities, both to model what learning looks like to the older or to the younger children, but also to participate in supporting and supplementing the younger children's education. There's a lot of things that those older siblings can do. They can check grades. They can possibly do some tutoring. They can mentor by being a good example to one another. They can be um, a facilitator of different activities. They can do some teaching on their own, which is a really great way for them to learn. And then we can have specialists in our homeschool. Specialists might be a tutor that we bring in for a particular subject where we need support. It could be a co-op or co-op leader. It could be an online program. Right? These are these specialized tasks or skills or subjects. But I want you to notice in our org chart, where do they fall? It always falls under the CEO. So one of the reasons I use this language for parents is because you need to know that just because you have something in your homeschool, it could be a curriculum, it could be a tutor, it could be an online program, doesn't mean you are married to it and you need to keep it. If that thing isn't working for you or your children, you as the CEO have the authority to give it adjusted expectations, or if necessary, to fire it. So why does this work? Well, it gives clarity, first off. Who's the boss? Where do things go? Chain of command. It empowers your children to each understand and know their role. And ultimately, if you're going to be the CEO, you can't manage everything. And so it's going to allow you to appropriately learn how to turn things over um, without feeling like you need to be balancing everything all on your own shoulders. As far as like cross-age tutoring, right, using your older children as a lead learner or lead learners, one of the cool things about doing this, and I'm sure you've probably heard this, is one of the best ways to learn is to teach, right? Teachers in classrooms don't know everything that they teach, but they learn it more effectively because as the teacher, they get to harness the information at a deeper level even than the students who are learning it, which means if we allow our lead learners to be participants in instruction and in tutoring, they're going to start to grasp and understand concepts and knowledge, even if they're simple ones, at a deeper level that is going to fortify and strengthen their own understanding and help their siblings to learn as well. So there's some studies to show this. I can give links if people are interested. But kind of like the meta-analysis shows that everybody rises when students are tutoring, the tutors are learning and growing, and the ones obviously receiving the instruction learn and grow. So if you think about this in the family dynamic, we want each system that we have in place to be elevating and improving the other systems, the other employees, the other workers that we have. So uh, build your family's org chart, clearly lay out the chain of command, the positions, and the responsibilities of each of those roles so that everybody has clarity about who, the what, and the why of your homeschool. The other thing that you can do, thinking like a CEO, is to build your standard operating procedures, your SOPs. These will save your sanity. Your child, if you let them, will just ask you every single time. And it can get a little frustrating and a little annoying. And it can start to pull you back into manager role. Tell me what to do, tell me what to do, tell me what to do, basically. Well, we don't want to always have to tell our children what to do. We want them to grow up to be their own CEOs of something one day, whether it's their family or a business, doesn't matter. And if that's going to happen, then we're going to need to create standards and processes so that they know how to operate successfully without leaning on you for everything. Again, if you're going to do this higher level leading and developing and dreaming about where your homeschool is going, then you can't always be stuck in the kind of the mundane tasks. So you need to create expectations, which are some of the standard operating procedures of our homeschool that set your organization up for success. So one example, I'm gonna list a few out that you can do and use these to riff off of, come up with your own ideas. But a morning launch, 10 minutes, where before we formally jump into, let's say, the academic day or whatever, we're taking some time to meditate, to pray, to go through scripture, review the day's top 3 priorities, and then do a materials check. Make sure that you have everything you need to actually accomplish those things successfully, right? Now, depending on the age and the stage of your children, maybe their top 3 looks different. But make sure everybody, they could have their own paper, they could have their own whiteboard. You could, be standing there with your kind of PowerPoint or whiteboard or whatever, presenting what everyone's getting into, and they're expected to take notes, like physically write down what they are required to do and check it off as it gets done. But basically, you're getting everybody ready. Before we do the thing, what are we doing so that we can do it successfully, right? If you don't know what you're aiming at, you're likely not going to hit it. And then lesson flow. Teach once, let your older kids support, and then scale expectations with rubrics, right? Level A, level B, level C. Meaning, even if you're teaching the same materials to all of your children, you have different expectations for each of your children, right? Your fifth grader is going to have a different ability than your second grader. That's expected and that's okay. You can learn about the same content, let's say of world history, at the same time. But your fifth grader might be writing a 1 paragraph reflection on some key questions that you've either asked them or prepared for them, whereas your second grader might be doing an oral review with you while your fifth grader is working on that task, on their responsibility, their expectation. Your second grader is doing an oral review, and then I don't know, maybe they're drawing a picture of a scene that was discussed, or you're working on vocabulary words that were in the text that you read. Like there's a lot of different things that you can do, but basically you create expectations that align with your child's ability while teaching the same material. And it will create a streamlined flow for teaching that makes it much easier. And again, because we don't want to do everything, we can offload this, right? Where our older child gets their work done and then they can go and they can do a review with the younger child. They can do the oral review. Maybe you start out with a younger child drawing the scene while the older child does their independent work. Once they're done, they go with the child and they do a oral review, and then together they present that information to you as the CEO. Right? There's a lot of different ways that we can do this, but basically morning launch, lesson flow, and then device rule. Where do phones live? Right? If we don't want our children on devices and they have devices, let's just say that they do, phone, iPad, whatever, give that thing a home and make sure it stays there. Right? I'm going to assume at the desk or the lesson area, the table, wherever you do your work, is not the place where you're keeping your distractions on hand, right? If you put a big, shiny new toy in the box in front of your child, and then you tell them to work on memorizing the vocabulary words, that is going to be too much of a pull on their attention for them to focus fully. And that's exactly what your phone, or any other device is going to do. So create a rule. And where do your phones live? what's your kind of like your school hours white list, and then you need to model for your children what you expect of them. So if they're not on devices during learning time, apart from, let's say emergencies or a planned interruption that you knew was going to come up, like a phone call that was scheduled, you're not hanging out with your device either. And this is going to keep us accountable. It's going to help to keep them accountable. Because again, the best CEOs model what they want to see their company and their organization and their employees doing. And if you can't model it, you can't really expect them to do it, or they're not going to, whether you expect it or not. So, good thing to keep in mind. And then a help ticket, sticky note or a whiteboard or a chalkboard, where issues can be posed. Student log issues, or rather, students log issues. If there's something that comes up and you don't have the ability to just stop what you're doing and deal with it, have a system in place where they can mark down those issues. They have a big question. Well, you don't want them to forget their question. Have a system for them to write it down. They can go to the board, they can write it down with their name, they can write it on a sticky note, stick it to the board. Have a system so that you can go through in a time when you're ready and go attack those problems again in your time, right? You don't want to throw off everything every time there's a disruption. So make sure that they have a process in place so that when they have a question or they have a concern or whatever, they can fill out a help ticket and they know that that help ticket is going to be addressed. Show them how to move on while that issue lays unresolved, and how to take next steps in their work, in talking to their, student leaders, like their older siblings. If they have a question, if there's something, okay, create a process. Okay, before we go to mom, I'm gonna write my question down, and I'm gonna take my question to the lead. And then if the lead is not able to answer it, I'm gonna put it on our help ticket whiteboard. And if mom can't deal with it right now, I know she's going to circle back to me so I can keep going on the next question or the next stage or even the next subject if I need to just move on. And then have a shutdown period. Again, this is going to help you have peace every day by just taking a few minutes at the end of each day to bring everything to a close. Leave your area, your work area, like you found it. And you should have found it clean. So make sure you leave it clean so you can enter the next day peaceably. 10 minutes, tidy up the space, log your wins, and then go over a quick preview of tomorrow, right? Get in your children's head at the end of the day what they're looking forward to the next day so that they wake up with those thoughts already on their mind with an idea and expectations of what they're moving towards. And this just in general with kids, the more information you can provide them to give them understanding, it builds security and trust so that they don't go in, oh, what? I have a spelling test tomorrow? Right? We don't want that kind of attitude. So, well, you don't want to drop it on them at the moment that you're doing it. I'm not a huge fan of pop quizzes. There's a time and there's a place, but by and large, your day doesn't want to be a pop quiz, right? No employee wants just to have a huge project dropped on them without any pre-warning. So do the same thing for your children. Give them a picture of what tomorrow is going to look like so that they can come in with the expectation that they've prepared themselves through sleep, through breakfast, through whatever is necessary to be ready for that task the next day. And then why do I say rhythms? Well, they will convert willpower to habit. Willpower is something that we all have a limited capacity of, especially our young children. They don't have a lot of willpower. So if you're asking them all day to will to do the right thing, then you're setting them up to mess up almost every day. So instead, what can we do? Well, we can align our program, our organization with our children's ability, with their biology, right? If you think about, there's just a period in children's development when they become teenagers where they need to sleep later. They actually need more sleep. It's going to help them. There's a lot of studies out there just kind of showing how necessary sleep is and how the schedules change in a very normal way with teens' biology during these years. And so, if we're constantly expecting them to wake up, let's say at 6 in the morning, we might be pulling willpower out of them that they will not have to exercise later in the day. So let's create habits that set them up for success and minimize the exertion of willpower. That doesn't mean they start at 3 in the afternoon every day, right? You still want them to wake up, but set a routine that supports their biology and then allow them to do the same things every single day so that it stops being a force of willpower and it just becomes a force of habit. You don't have to think about habit. You don't have to will yourself to habit, right? I have an early alarm that I've set to wake me up every day to get started on my expectations as a CEO of my household. And guess what? About 15 minutes before my alarm goes off every day, my eyes open and I know it's almost time, right? And if I turn over and I look at my alarm, it tells me I'm about to go off. Why don't you just go ahead and get up, right? Because my body is starting to program around my routines. So build routines so that you can have habits rather than forcing willpower. So let's keep going. Take a few minutes. Your weekly CEO stand-up. So a stand-up meeting with a CEO in a business is a 15-minute kickoff. It's a short meeting. It's called a stand-up meeting because it's meant to be like quick and on the go. We're not sitting down for a large presentation. We're reviewing what's most important, making sure we're all on the same page, and then we launch. So on Monday, you can do a 15-minute kickoff. Review your mission, values, goals, focus for the week, right? Keep these things in alignment. You should always, as a family, be talking about your mission, your values, and your goals so that it's always top of mind. It should be memorized by everybody in due time. And then choose one value to spotlight. If one of our family's values is diligence, like seeing things through all the way to the end, highlight that and put it in your children's mind to make that their focus today, right? And for your lead learners, put that in their mind that they want to celebrate and call that out of the younger learners as they are going through their work too. Guys, we're working to be diligent, and we want that to be communicated at all levels, no matter who's helping. If you have a tutor or someone who comes into your program, let them know, hey, today as a family, we are focusing on diligence. So it is okay if you see my child sloughing off, I want you to tell them, hey, I know that diligence is something that you guys are working on today. I know you're having a hard time, but you can see this through to the end, and I'm here if you need me, right? So offer that kind of support to every layer of your organization and lead them in that way, and it will be more successful. So just like you start the week on Monday with a stand-up meeting, a short kickoff to what you're getting into, what your focus is going to be, end your week with a review, right? A 20-minute review. The talk about some of your key performance indicators, your KPIs, right? These are things that companies use to measure their success. We'll have standards that you measure as a homeschool CEO to measure your success as a family. The amount of hours we read, right? Have an effort slash attitude kind of scale or rubric that you use, right? I do this as a 3-point system: 1, 2, 3. Uh, Unacceptable effort, acceptable effort, right? Above expectations with regards to effort and attitude. Was your child's attitude on par or above all week? Um, Joy moments. Are there highlights that we can draw out of these things? Really added something to our family. This is a memory that we want to remember. Um, and then skill artifacts added to your portfolio, right? If there's something that your child has mastered this week, document it, put it in their portfolio, right? Put it in their bundle of achievements that you're using to build their resume over time. And so with that in mind, I talk to parents about building a living resume, right? So projects, skills, services, certificates, recommendations, referrals, like build a portfolio that is not just a report card that you're going to give to an institution or to a university one day to say, see, my child is smart. Actually show with a living record of everything that they are and everything that they do, their volunteer time, like build out something that testifies to all the work that you've put into your children for all these years. And that's a living resume, which is far better than a report card. By all means, you can keep transcripts and grades, but in addition to that, showcase their best quality projects, their best quality skills that you're really proud of, that are worth documenting and noting when they've accomplished these things. If they've done any certification programs, pull all that stuff in and keep it in one place as a living witness to testify to who they are and what they've done. And then delegation equals discipleship. Delegate grading checks, narration listening, quiz corrections, supplies, restock to older kids. Authority with responsibility. It's okay to give your older children authority and then to count on them and rely on them with responsibility. Don't just give them power. Give them power that is undergirded with responsibility. Right, I got that. Uh, that Spider-Man line. With great power comes great responsibility. from Uncle Ben right before Peter Parker's uncle is killed, and he has this flashing memory. Well, okay, I want your older children to know that with great power comes great responsibility. Yes, we're going to give them more, but more will be expected of them. And this is going to enable them to have more confidence in taking the lead on things for themselves one day. And then parental involvement, that just want you guys to know this, directly correlates to achievement. Right? There's a ton of studies showing this. But by you being involved in every aspect of your home and your children's education, by them being able to see you lead, but more importantly, most importantly of all, just by being together as a family, your parental involvement is almost guaranteeing a higher level of success than your children would have had otherwise. So think about it. If we optimize our involvement to be the most streamlined and effective, like a high functioning CEO and a high functioning organization, then it's going to correlate to higher levels of achievement for our children as well. So again, by being together, you've already taken the first step. Now, by improving yourself and your systems, you're going to go another step further. And then the CEO mindset is you don't do everything. You ensure that everything gets done, right? You're just making sure that everything that needs to get done is getting done. But the idea that you have to be the one who does it, that's not a CEO's mindset. CEO mindset is I know what needs to be done and I ensure that it gets done because I have the right people here to make sure that it gets done. Okay, so that's the equipping and the calling your children up to help them be set up to be successful. So a few takeaways, just to run by this one more time. Draft your homeschool org chart. Okay, who's the CEO? Who's the COO? Who are your teacher assistants and your specialists? Number two is install at least 3 standard operating procedures this week. Your start of day, your lesson flow, and then your shutdown time. And then number three, schedule the CEO stand-up meeting, right? Monday kickoff and a Friday review. If you only do those twos, it's going to book into your week to set you up for more success. Number four is adopt the 1, 2, 3 effort and attitude rubric, which is, again, a simple 3-point scale where you're measuring not just what your children do, but how your children do it. And post it where your kids can see it. Have one for each child so that they can see, hey, I was off on the last thing. I'm going to fix it this time. And make sure it's not about saying you're a good child or you're a bad child. It's just about showing them where they are so they can recognize, adapt, make a change, and shift towards what's better. And then start building a living resume. Add one artifact in that resume by Friday. What's a skill that we can document that our child has learned? What's a project that they're completing that we can incorporate into this resume? And start to build that thing up over time so that your child has that witness testifying to who they are and all that they've accomplished. Cool. So that's pretty much bringing us to the end. Um, I want to make sure that you guys are aware of a few things. I've built out a mini org chart and standard operating procedure bundle that you can have access to. So um, if that's something you're interested in, I'm going to need you to do something, right? This is just going to be something very easy so that you can take on these ideas and start to implement them within your family, within um, your school day. So if you want to grab that free org chart and standard operating procedure bundle, I'm going to post it in our community. There's a link below in the description. You can um, click on that link or shoot me a message depending on what platform you're watching me on, or leave a comment. And I will make sure that you get access to that so that you can start to implement these practices in your family. All right, you can book a free discovery call. The link is down below as well. I'll help you turn your mission, values, goals framework into a 4-week execution plan where you can lead your homeschool program with this kind of leadership, this kind of focus, so that you can start to experience growth and you can start to see your children flourish. And then the last thing is subscribe to our newsletter, right? You'll get weekly prompts and checklists and support around key topics within homeschooling as a home educator, how to become the best home educator possible, how to support your children, some themes that are going on in the culture that we need to be aware of. It's a really high value newsletter. We send it out about once a week. And I think if nothing else, that you should definitely subscribe to that because you're going to get a lot of value out of it. So again, if you like this video, if you appreciate what you're learning, if these mindset shifts are helpful for you, like, follow, subscribe, comment, and most importantly, share. Let people know what we're doing because we want to see as many families possible transforming their family and the culture around them through the quality of becoming the best home educator we can be. Thanks for listening to the Parent Educator Project. And until next time, wish you all the best.